Hi, Catholic nurses. My name is Nicole Haugen. I'm a wife, mom, nurse, and Catholic life coach. If you are new to this channel, go and watch the video about the model. So we're going to dive right in. And I have a workshop coming up March 20th, 2023 about God is my refuge, remaining true to the faith as a Catholic in healthcare. So go to CatholicNurseCoach.com to sign up for that. And a lot of responses have been coming in already about different topics to talk about. So I just want to touch on one briefly because I'm not sure I'm going to get to everybody's on the workshop. So start out with our circumstance. Somebody messaged in they're a dialysis nurse and their coworkers often get done at 10 p.m. instead of midnight. And the coworker said one time about a patient, she's just stupid. Okay, so we have a lot of thoughts about that. Couple of the thoughts might be this shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't do that. The patient is suffering. Okay, so we're going to go with the thought the patient is suffering. And then you have feelings, right? Some of the feelings that come up are guilt, shame, overwhelm, stress, and burden. The strongest feeling that I feel when I think patients are suffering is I feel a burden. I feel like it is a weight on my shoulders that's pushing down on me, that's crushing me. Like I can't stand up straight. It's hard to take a deep breath in because it's just crushing. And not only is it mentally crushing, it almost feels like it's physically crushing me. Okay. And from that feeling of burden, I take the actions of I try to do extra things for my patients. I take my time, even maybe extra time, because if the coworkers are not going to take their time, I'm for sure going to go slower and make sure that I do a good job. I think about work when I'm not at work. I'm rude to my coworkers, and this might come across even as like the tone and the way that you speak to them, your eye movements, your facial expressions, your body language, right? You might not even be aware of it. You complain to your husband, family, or friends. You speak to your supervisor about them, maybe even go to your board. You don't sleep very well. You overeat. You nag your coworkers. You're not praying, right? You're just spinning in this overwhelm all the time in your mind. And your result is you're suffering. So just recognize that feeling in your body, sit with it for a minute. So describe it just like I did and sit with it longer than I did, for the sake of time in the video. And it'll pass in 60 to 90 seconds. Okay. Calm down, feel the feeling. Often when we think this shouldn't be happening, patients are suffering, we think that God is making a mistake. God is getting it wrong. Because the reality is this is happening. And therefore, God's allowing it to happen. And God doesn't make mistakes. Right? So we spend so much time trying to resist the reality that we suffer because of it. Right? And so just this is the reality. Hey, you're not always going to have coworkers that put the same amount of energy and effort into taking care of patients as you do. So once we feel the feeling, we can shift to our intentional thought. So same circumstance, right? Dialysis nurse, coworkers are done at 10 p.m. instead of midnight when their shift is supposed to be. One of the coworkers states she's just stupid when talking about a patient. And you can have the thought instead, God is in control, or just practice the thought. Okay. God is in control. A lot of times our first thought we can't control, but our second thought we can control. So if you hear somebody saying that, just have compassion for yourself too, right? Like this is a situation where that's hard to hear somebody say something like that. Just have compassion for yourself. Maybe walk away, go to the bathroom for a minute, take some deep breaths. Be like, okay, I can't control them, right? But how is God calling me to show up? Okay, God is in control. I don't have to fix all this. God is in control. From that, I feel peace. Like I just feel so much lighter. I can stand up straight. It doesn't feel heavy because I don't have to do it all. God is in control. And from the feeling of peace, from the thought, God is in control, I then talk to God, right? Oftentimes we block God out. We don't want God to hear our bad thoughts. He does anyway, but we think that if we don't talk to him, he doesn't hear our bad thoughts or our negative thoughts, right? But when I feel peace, I talk to God. Maybe even complain to God. I tell him how angry and hurt I am that this is happening. This isn't fair, right? Sometimes I throw a little temper tantrum with God and he's fine with it. He can handle it. He's a big God. Okay. And then I listen to God. How is God asking me to show up? Again, I can't control others. The only thing I can control in life is my mind and my thoughts. And when I control those, then my actions follow suit. Okay, so I stop spinning in my mind about work all the time. I stop ruminating on it. I leave work at work. I yell less at the kids and husband. I sleep better. I learn more about my faith. I show up as a better Catholic. I'm kinder to my coworkers, right? From the place of patients are suffering, I might be kind to my patients. I might be overly kind to my patients. That's usually how I would show up. But then with coworkers, or especially with my family, like, because, okay, I want to be professional, like, I would take it out on my husband and kids when I got home. And not always like in an overly very visible way. It was more of like eye rolls when they needed help with something. When I'd sit down, do I have to get back up again? Right? Those kinds of things. And those speak volumes to our children, to the way we show up. And maybe you are showing that up that way to your coworkers as well. Okay, but when we show up from here, when God is in control, we not only allow God to be in control, but we control how we show up. We show up as a much better version of ourselves, as a much better Catholic. We live as disciples of Christ. Okay, so a couple bridge thoughts as well that I'd like to leave you with, from going from patients are suffering to God is in control is kind of sometimes a big thought shift, and people, like, that's hard to wrap your mind around. Okay, so some bridge thoughts that you can try out instead and just practice, try them on, see what works for you. I'm learning to let go of control. I'm learning to trust God. I'm learning that God is love and truth. Another one that I like is I'm safe. I'm learning that I am safe. Okay. So I hope this helps. Again, go to CatholicNurseCoach.com to sign up for my workshop. I'm super excited about it. March 20th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Central Time. And I'm praying for you. And let's go change our world.